you guys got?
Well, our fourth question.
How big has this week been for you, practice-wise, and to reset for the last couple of games?
I don't know if I necessarily looked at it as a reset.
Mm-hmm.
In all honesty, just we're trying to finish strong, and the one thing I kind of talked to the guys about, it's like 4:45, 4:50 on Friday. Like there's still work to do, but we're close. We're close, and we got to keep our focus on the things that give us a chance to finish strong, which is getting better in practice. Obviously, the turnovers continue to kind of pop up and be a problem. The biggest concern I've had is our defense kind of went away, so that's something we've been able to kind of recalibrate a little bit here with I guess an extra day of practice here this week, having played on Monday.
What do you see with the defense? What have you seen in the last couple of games that concerns you the most?
I mean, where do you want me to start? The points, the shooting percentages, the assists, I mean, all of it. I mean, the rebounding, obviously, at West Virginia was an issue. It is difficult as you go through a league like this when you're always in prep mode, because then you're not in practice, get better mode, and those are two totally different things. So like yesterday was great. We didn't talk about anybody except ourselves. Obviously we're off on Tuesday, and you need some of those days that you can just say, all right, where does the Oklahoma State basketball program have to get better? Where does this team, what does John Michael, what does Bryce Thompson, what does Musa Cisse, what do they need? Not how do we stop Team X? How do we play well in the game? Like, let's get back to getting good shots. Let's get back to getting in help, and let's get back to guarding the ball and finishing possessions, and we were able to do that. So it was everything, but I think to your earlier question, it was about an opportunity just to focus on getting back to doing what we do well. Because our personnel is a little different, but it's not drastically different than when we were one of the top defenses in the country. And so we still have the personnel and the scheme. It's about having a commitment to getting back to doing it.
Caleb had done a pretty good job most of the year staying out of foul trouble, but is it something you guys have to do different to keep him out of early foul trouble, or is it a mindset thing? Or
I don't want to oversimplify this, but the two teams that we played and their personnel and their style presents challenges for him. It's been that way his whole career. A big, really physical, girthy guys. He struggled there. He's gotten better, but they pose problems for him. So, K-State's got good players. They don't have players like Jimmy Bell. They don't have someone on their roster like Eddie Lampkin who's just gonna make you fight 3 feet from the basket. And depending on how physical they let it play, it's an issue. So we're conscious of it, but I don't want to. I don't want to put too much of an emphasis on it, because I don't want him thinking that he's got to change. Right? We still need him to be aggressive, but we do have to keep him on the court, and to do that, I think there'll be a better opportunity with the way the next couple of teams play.
You mentioned prep mode versus working on yourselves. How difficult was that when things don't go necessarily right in Fort Worth, and then you're on a plane and you're essentially right on the floor in West Virginia?
Yes, it's one of the hardest things, because you don't even really have a chance to dissect what went wrong. I mean, you kind of have to not say forget about it, burn the tape, but two things: you're not going to play them again over the next couple games, so you don't really want to dwell on that. And the task in front of you, we talk about all the time, you got to get ready for the next one. It's a 36-hour turnaround, and so that makes it hard, because there are things that I knew we needed to practice on Sunday. We couldn't, because it doesn't help you Monday, and it's part of it. Everybody does it though, so it's not necessarily a complaint. It's just a reality of playing this league and having a Saturday, Monday. So that's cool for football. Like, I don't know if it's easier. I don't know anything about football, but if we could play once a week, I'd feel better that we could take a couple days to practice and then prep every week, versus having to turn around and go Tuesday, Saturday, Monday. Really good teams, really good coaches, different styles, without really ever being able to step back and say, all right, what do we need to do?
And then you mentioned defense. How much does not turning the ball over then help with your defense?
Yeah, it does. There's no question. That's a factor. It's a major factor, and certainly not dismissing that. But our half-court defense hasn't been good in the last couple games either. In all honesty, we get pretty detailed analytical reports after every game, and our defense in dead balls and after we miss a shot even has been just as bad as it was when we turned it over. Now, the turnovers are harder to defend because a lot of times they lead to baskets that you don't have a chance. But and as I'm concerned about that, I'm more concerned that in the half court, teams are just lining up and getting whatever shot they want for the most part in the last 3 games.
Is that a defense or is that an effort thing, a concentration thing? What?
All of it, and it's less effort. The guys play hard. You know, they compete. They really do. We got good kids. No one's out there darling it by any stretch. But it's a grind. I mean, this still is hard. I mean, and not in a way to say, you know, we all have to do it. But it's like, guys, look around. This league is a monster. I mean, it's as good as people say it is. I'm telling you. And so when it starts to go south, especially on the road, it's hard to get yourself gathered, you know, and we don't necessarily have the deepest team, right? And now we're dealing with a little bit of personnel issues, whether it be injuries or foul trouble, and it's hard to overcome. So it's part of it. I mean, I think we're built for the task, but we just got to get back to the basics and start just, again, at the point of attack, we got to guard the ball better, we got to talk better, we got to take care of the ball better. A lot of things that we were able to kind of talk about the last couple of days.
Mike, how much of that is Avery's absence?
Yeah, I mean, that's no doubt. Yeah, you know, he's not playing Saturday. I mean, you know, the reality is we got to figure it out without him, you know, here for the immediate future and maybe for the long haul. We don't know. So I wish that wasn't the case. The kid certainly does as well. It's unfortunate. It's part of the game. And got to be able to, you know, pick yourself off the mat, and somebody step up and fill that gap a little bit better than we had the last week and a half.
Are there things you can do in regards to the turnovers with, you mentioned the personnel's a little bit different. Are there things that you can do to help fix that?
Absolutely. We can slow down a little bit. You know, we were built to play fast, but I don't know if we were built to play as fast as some of my other teams, considering you started 11 scholarship guys and a couple injuries, and now maybe you got some combinations because of the Florida game that don't necessarily work well playing fast. And so, yeah, we'll probably need to be more tempo-minded. Again, I don't want to be scoring in the 40s. That's probably not going to get it done at a high level. But we probably need to be more conscious of, you know, slowing the game down some, being less risky in transition, and making sure we get a shot as often as we can.
Caleb talked. Go ahead.
Senior day's coming up.
Yeah.
And 4 of these 7 seniors came into OSU before COVID was even a thing. They, you know, transfer portal, NIL, like the world's changed since they got here. What's kind of, you know, their legacy and what, like how proud of you are of them for sticking it out?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's unfortunate, but I think it's true. Like these guys, like they're gonna become like the exception as we move forward in college athletics, and I think in probably every sport. Guys that go to one school for 4 years, and that's their collegiate athletic story. But I'm proud of, you know, the way they've, you know, taken care of business. They're all going to graduate. The thing I'm most proud of, first and foremost. So they got a chance in life when sooner than most of them can understand or imagine, they're not going to be playing basketball. And so I'm proud that they've committed themselves to this and dealt with all the difficult things that have gone on while they've been here. I'm proud of who they are as people and who they're becoming as adults. I'm proud of the way they've competed for our program. You know, those guys have given us a lot of mileage. And you know, the story's not over, it's still being written. So I don't know what their legacy is quite yet. I think we got a couple weeks to still kind of determine that. But I'm really proud of what they've done in terms of their commitment to the school, their commitment to this community. They're college kids, so I'm sure they hang out on Washington Street sometimes. That's part of the deal. They should, in all honesty. You know, it'd be a shame if they didn't. But they haven't done it in an irresponsible way. And so that's one thing as a coach that I feel good about. I go to bed at night, I feel pretty good about the short amount of sleep I'm gonna get, knowing that we got high character kids that care about not only themselves, but the program that they're representing.
Caleb had talked about a conversation he was late to a breakfast or something in the summer, and you guys had a heart-to-heart, he said. Do you remember that, and what was that conversation like?
Yeah, I remember just about every single conversation I've ever had with Caleb Boone, going back to his sophomore year in high school. But yeah, I mean, there was a time in Caleb's time here that I'm not sure he thought that he could really make it. And I think there was a part of him that was trying to see how far he could go and still remain here. And I told him at that point, there wasn't much more rope for him. You know, essentially, you got to figure out you're going to be a responsible person, and you know, we can get you to the finish line, or you can go finish somewhere else. And it's your choice. Like, I'm not going to be mad at you, but the standards and expectations here that you're more than capable of meeting, and you can become a good player. Somebody that can leave here as an Oklahoma kid with a college degree from Oklahoma State, be somebody that people will want to help for the rest of your life. Or you can be a, you know, what if story. And I'm glad he chose that he wanted to fight this thing out and change his behavior and really work to become what I thought he could become, which is a really good player in this league.
He said that was kind of the moment he knew that he had made the right choice to come back. How much does that mean to be able to have that heart-to-heart? And
yes, the hard part, man. Those are the things that you don't talk about much, because a lot of it happens behind the scenes, and some of it happens under very not so pleasant circumstances, right? Those conversations aren't, let's hug. I mean, let's laugh. Sometimes there's yelling, sometimes there's never a physical altercation, but sometimes there's some hard feelings. Sometimes people are hurt because you tell them the truth. And it's one of the things that I feel like as a head coach, I try to be really, really conscious of, is that regardless of how this is going out there in the arena, I have a responsibility to be honest with these kids and let them know, like, this isn't gonna work for your life. These behaviors aren't gonna be good if you don't figure it out. You're gonna be a husband one day, you're gonna be a father one day, you're gonna have a job. Like, you're gonna answer to somebody and have expectations on you for the rest of your life. So the sooner you can get comfortable, even with the things you don't necessarily like, the more opportunities you're gonna have to enjoy whatever you're doing. So I hope all of them hear it, as a coach and as a parent. Sometimes you wonder, but to hear that he's repeating those things now, at some point it's seeping through there, even if it's just a little bit at a time.
A few games like the games he just had in years past might have carried over for months. How has he been able to learn to let go of things like that as quickly as yet?
Well, honestly, his coach has probably been a better coach for him. I probably wasn't a very good coach for him as a freshman, because this thing is, I make it hard intentionally early on for these guys, and it's not to be mean, but it's like they need to get used to difficult things. They need to get used to adversity, and so much of their life they get to avoid that. And you talk about the numbers and being 1% of the guys who play high school basketball, and then 1% of those guys play in college, and then 1% of those guys. But you can't tell these guys that they can't be that, because they always have been, right? But you got to get them to understand that there's certain things that give you a chance, regardless of whether you're going to play sports. Avery's a great example. A month ago today, just flying high, playing basketball, enjoying it. And in the span of a week, his basketball life took a difficult turn. So I think just growing up, accepting responsibility for your behaviors, having the will and consciousness and humility to admit that you can grow up and be better, it's been good to see all of them. And they've all been through different things in their career. Chris with a couple knee surgeries, Avery with the injury now, Caleb playing, not playing, weight, all that stuff. So I'm proud of all of them.
Tyreek had a pretty good game, all things considering, at West Virginia. How
The
have
best player up there.
how have you seen him? His role's been up and down this year. How have you seen him kind of respond to that mentally and off the court?
Yeah, man, it's hard for all these guys to figure out how to consistently do anything. But what I appreciate most about Reek is he's the same. It's sort of like Bernie in a different way. He's more physically capable, but they have great attitudes. And in a game like West Virginia, you need Tyreek. It's built for him. Like he probably, if we played all 18 games against him, he'd probably be our best player, because you got to have a dude like that who just can throw his body around and can take a foul and finish and can grab a rebound in traffic. So as we continue to evolve, you never know. We're going to go to Kansas City in 2 weeks, and I don't know how many days we're going to have to try to play in a row. His role, we may need him to play more then. So try not to predetermine any of it, but I know because of the way he approaches it, he's going to be ready when we need him.
You mentioned Bernie. What makes him so beloved?
He's as selfless of a person as I've ever been around. And I've said this before, and I probably need to get some data to back this up, but he may have played the least amount of minutes as a scholarship player in the last 3 years of anybody in the country. And I've never heard him complain about it. He's never come to my office saying he wants a bigger role. He shows up to practice and has a good attitude. He's been on the scout team all years. And then there's been times when we've thrown him out there. And he does what Bernie does. He screams the heck out of somebody, he fouls the heck out of somebody, and he gets a layup. And then he gets tired. He's got to come out. But I think just the joy he brings to people, the willingness to do whatever his teammates need from him, I think that's part of it. I think he's so selfless, and he thinks of his teammates so much that they only can appreciate the fact that he still shows up, even though he knows for the most part he's not going to get that many minutes in a game. So I just think that, but he's beloved not just in this building. You go talk to the people in the Colvin, you go talk to people, just on campus, and he's always smiling. He's very nice, very nice kid, very respectful, very humble, and that take you a long way in life.
Have you ever had a player, he's at like pretty much every softball game, he's at a bunch of baseball games. Have you ever had a player ingrain themselves in the university as much as he has?
Those are hard because I don't know everywhere they go all the time. I know Thomas is worldly is, right? He was all into getting to know all his professors and books and all that stuff. So maybe differently, but Bernie's definitely one of the few guys who's out in the open as much as he is.
What gets GIA the loudest? Is it a dunk, a shot clock violation? What gets this place rocking the most?
Let them win. I mean, that's probably hard to top in here, right? But what I think our fans appreciate is how hard guys compete. Guys who dive on loose balls, who take charges, who block shots, who take pride in playing defense. Shot making and dunks always. I think that's universal, right? But not everywhere will you get a crowd or a fan base who can appreciate a multiple effort defensive play. They just don't watch the game that way. Most people, good offenses, the ball went in the basket, and bad offenses have been missed. And I can respect that kind of novelty. I kind of think a little bit deeper than that, but I just think that people appreciate the approach to the game because that's the way this program has been successful since back in Mr. Iber's days.
How important is the game on Saturday? Just to have senior night and also just knowing that you guys really need another win.
Yeah. I mean, it's important for a lot of reasons. And before we talk about the seniors, we also have an alumni weekend here. So we'll have a couple hundred former players, managers, coaches, and their families back here starting tomorrow afternoon. We'll have a dinner with them tomorrow night. Obviously, they'll come to the game and be honored, I think, at halftime. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And so it's great to have those people and their families reconnect with their school. I say it all the time, this isn't my school. I love this place. I love this community. I didn't go to school here. I didn't walk these, I didn't stay in these dorms. I didn't walk the halls of these classroom buildings. So the people who did, who really put the sweat equity and blood into building what it is, it's great to have them back and reconnect with these guys. And so for the seniors, I want them to know that this is a place, even though as they finish here over the next couple of weeks, that they can always come back to as well. But then, you know, there's also the element of the game. It's a big game. We need a win. I mean, so we got to play well against a really good team.
It's been a while since you played them. I mean, what's, you know, what can you take away from that game? You know?
I don't know. Musa was out. Avery didn't play much then. Obviously won't play at all this time. So we're both a little bit differently. They had a couple guys out that are in now, but they got two really dynamic players who will probably, you know, be in the conversation for Player of the Year. Certainly, all Big 12 honors that we got a tall task to handle. So go back and look at some things we did well, try to do them again, and some things obviously we didn't do well. You know, we got to stop them from throwing the 15-foot lob to Keontae Johnson. I tested our verticals. I don't think we have anybody that could go get it. So that's one of the things we got to do a better job of. The 40-foot three-point shots too. I mean, you don't really defend those very well.
How have you approached conversations with seniors this year about potentially coming back? Is that something you leave for after the Big 12 tournament or postseason, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a time for it. Certainly, it's not now. You know, what I want these guys is to be in the moment. Like, let's max out this thing. Let's just see. We got 3 regular season games to go, 2 against the top 15 teams at home. Let's play well Saturday. Let's try to play well on Monday on a quick turnaround, and then let's go to Lubbock and see how we finish and where we are in the league and go to the conference tournament. And at some point, we're going to take the uniforms off for the last time. Hopefully it's 3, 4, 5 weeks from now. And then we can sit down and talk about each individual, because each person will have a different kind of approach, story, to kind of to think about and consider. Obviously, other than Caleb Asbury and Bernie Kuma, who this is their last year, but all the rest of those guys, whether they want to become pros and go, whether they want to come back and do this again, whether they're done with college, whatever. Each conversation will be individual based.